Okay. Are we in now?
Hi, Elmo.
Hi, Angelina.
Yeah, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good, and we are ready to go. Do you have any message you would like to deliver to participants?
Everyone. My name is Angela Ambitho. I am the current um, president of WAPOR SSA, and mine is really just to welcome you to this, series of webinars that we have been conducting as part of the, tasks and tenets of the Education Committee of WAPOR SSA. Just a little bit for those who may not be very, conversant on who we are. WAPOR SSA is, the Sub-Saharan chapter of World Association of Public Opinion Research, which is a global entity that is over 75 years old. The WAPOR SSA chapter was established in August 2022 and has individual members spanning across around 42 countries within Sub-Saharan Africa. It's the youngest chapter of the World Association for Public Opinion Research. And our, main tenet is to promote highest professional standards, ethics, and techniques for survey and public opinion polling around the world. Um, we really strive to engage in robust, conversations, particularly within the public policy and political, socioeconomic, environmental, space using the publications that we have. We have AGPOR, which you can access through the global, portal. We also have seminars, we have meetings and webinars such as these ones, all in the quest of, enhancing the capacity of public opinion polling within our region and within the continent. We generally continue to promote, the right to conduct, publish, and publish scientific research, public opinion research on what people and the public think on various issues within the, various countries that we operate in. We also promote the knowledge and application of scientific methods in public opinion research with the aim of promoting development and publication of the findings within the continent. I think that generally gives you a feel. Our vision is generally, as I have mentioned, to promote the knowledge and application of scientific methods as the main way and the best way to collect and to maintain data quality in and around the continent, and to assist, therefore, and promote development and publication of good quality public opinion research. Our mission in the end is to actualize the vision through publication of public opinion research, covering various areas, conduct seminars, meetings, and other educational initiatives that will enhance the capacity and foster growth of our, public opinion research. We are really, invoking upon those who have joined to become a member of SSA, WAPOR, for the simple reason that there are 5 key benefits. The first one is that it would help you showcase your expertise, as will be seen from this webinar, to the globe. But you also then have an opportunity to learn, and we are looking forward to hearing from this particular webinar today, and you find your voice in a global community. Every time we meet once a month, we find that we learn something from each other, from our various peers, just even within the Sub-Saharan continent. The other thing is that we also stay connected to cutting edge, technologies and methodologies on research and innovation. And indeed, the membership, expands the horizon through global connections. We are giving you, when you become a member, therefore, the platform to showcase your expertise to the world. At the click of a button, which our secretariat will provide in that, you can actually access more information on how to become a member. It is not beyond anyone's reach. $50 for an individual member for a year, which also gives you access to our conference. We have an annual conference, regional conference, that will be happening next year in Lagos in May. And we also have the global conference and other conferences that will be happening. So there's an array of activities that you have access to as a member. And we really compel you to then, take the opportunity to become a member of the WAPOR SSA, and really, enjoy the benefits that I have mentioned, which is really being part of this elite circle of research professionals. I welcome our speaker today. We look forward to, learning more about, the topic, which is a very rich topic. And indeed, thank the team led by Dr. El Mojira, who's in charge of our education committee, for the consistent, efforts that we've had in the webinar series that have been going on now every quarter. Thank you very much for the team that has also, worked to ensure that this webinar, is done very, very, successfully, from WAPOR Global, led by Senia, Dr. Senia, who runs the secretariat. And most importantly, thank all those who have taken the time to, engage with us during this webinar. I hand over to you, El Mojira, and I look forward, just like everybody else, to listening to what I know will be a very engaging session. Thank you, Elmo. Over to you.
Thank you, Angela. And I would like to welcome my colleague, Dr. Aminwal. I think he's back. However, he will control the discussion. And I would like to introduce this session. And as we know, data collection is a cornerstone of any successful research project. It forms the foundation upon which sound decision and effective intervention are built. This process becomes even more critical in communities affected by conflict, where the need of reliable and high-quality data, especially areas such as such data enable communities to plan effectively for their needs and priorities. We are honored today to welcome Mr. Niklas Badgerson, Executive Director and co-founder of Voluntas, who brings extensive experience in data collection and analysis for several United Nations organizations such as WFP, World Food Program, United Nations Refugees, the UNHCR, UNICEF, and the International Organization of Migration. Mr. Niklas has worked under challenging conditions in various conflict zones around the world, from Syria to Libya, across Africa and Sudan as well. It is a great pleasure for us in WAPOR Sub-Saharan Africa to host him in this webinar. Mr. Niklas will deliver a 30-minute presentation, which we hope it will be valuable for all participants. Mr. Niklas, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, El Mojira. Thank you, Angela, for being given this opportunity. And of course, thank you to WAPOR SSA for organizing this. I should say that now El Moreda has been very kind in the words that he has described me, but it has also been very much us learning from the collaboration with El Moreda and teams that I also see being present today across many of the countries where we work. So what I will be reflecting upon today is something that I have seen in practice throughout the context where we operate, and also lessons that we have learned with quite a few of the people present during this session today. So thank you so much for being given this opportunity. As mentioned by Morita, my name is Niklas, and I want to start off on maybe a point that is not so specific on a context or data, but more on a reflection of what human beings are. Because one of the key premises upon which the work that we do at the Voluntas build is that we believe in the necessity of human beings to feel agency in the lives that they live. Because we believe that human agency is an underpinning component of feeling self-worth. Because only when people are capable and empowered to influence the decisions that they know will impact their lives, they feel their inherent value as human beings. So we have an undeniable belief in the potential of human beings, and we see it as a responsibility. It's to be able to listen to the voice of people in the field, and we also feel it as a strong responsibility to elevate these voices towards decision making. And we believe that we as a global community need to be better at accepting that individual notions of impact and well-being should be taken into consideration. So that's why we have a strong belief in the necessity of moving beyond what we would call a basic needs focus towards a realization of human potential focus. And that's why we exist as Voluntas, to support human beings in being given the agency, self-worth that is a necessity to realize the potential that we all have. So that's why we are here today to share a bit about how we do that on a daily basis. We today are hoping to bring some insights into our view on what some of the core challenges to data collection in conflict settings are, the way we see them. What are some of the adaptations across research cycles that we believe are necessary, and what could be actionable next steps in terms of how fieldwork is then carried out in contexts that are difficult to access and where the volatility is high. Everything that I'll say today is very much built on colleagues from around the offices that we have, but also from partners who have worked with us on collecting data across Africa and globally. And what we see is that the scarcity of data is a significant challenge in terms of taking decisions that are fact-based. And it's not just a challenge at large, it's a specific challenge in fragile or conflict-prone settings, where we often see that implementation of activities are carried out without really providing for a voice to the human beings that we aim to impact. So what I'm hopeful of achieving today is to share some of our experiences, and to also with that open the floor to exchange knowledge around how this can be done in ways that are as pervasive as possible, allow people agency, but also that are as accommodating of the necessities of the populations that we work with. We, as Voluntas, are a Danish-founded company. We are this year celebrating our 10-year anniversary. We're founded in Denmark, but do not see Denmark as our headquarters. We have offices that play a role in their own right. We see ourselves as a laboratory for applied philosophy, because what we do is that we want to focus on realizing the potential of human beings, both within the societies where we work, but also within organizations. And we do that by advising both organizations, private sector actors, international organizations, multilateral, bilateral donors on how they can best think around impact that truly matters. We have a presence, a wide presence in Africa, but also offices in other parts of the world where we work very closely with partners on collecting data large scale and translating that data into insights. So having data that is representative and reliable is really a cornerstone of our ability to provide advisory in context that is otherwise quite challenging. We work in what we call different centers of curiosity, but a lot of what I will talk about today centers around work that we do within research, policy and governance, and monitoring and social impact. But that's a little bit about us, so you know who we are. We've been lucky enough to work for many years across Africa, and also are currently and continuously collecting large-scale data in some of the more challenging contexts right now in Sub-Saharan Africa as well. So what we do with this data is that we try to translate it into fact-based policy options, recommendations that are as close to the voice of the human beings that we touch. Everything to ensure that human potential is realized by adding more meaning to the lives of more people. We believe that feeling meaning in life is a better measure than more traditional measures of well-being that normally revolve around more objectively verifiable indicators. And that's why the voices of human beings are as important as they are, because it's only when we actually listen to the voice of the people that we want to impact that we are able to translate that into programming and policies that has the impact that we're looking for. We collect the data that we do with various partners, networks of local partners, networks of local colleagues, in order to be as close to the ground as possible. So what I want to start with is to look at some of the challenges we have seen and experienced over the past now 10 years in the work that we do on collecting data in volatile and fragile contexts. And what we need to understand is that fragile context, or what we could term conflict settings, is more than just immediate physical danger. It really describes an environment where volatility is a base that we need to operate on, where uncertainties around all the factors that we would normally take for granted in more stable contexts are in flux. And that puts some significant challenges to how we are able to both prepare for our data collection, carry out our data collection, and quality assure and triangulate the data that we then end up actually collecting. Of key challenges that we see are, of course, security and physical access. We see very often that We have limited mobility across the field teams that we operate with. We have to delay or cancel part of our data collection. There are areas that are limited in terms of access, which means that we need to be flexible. And we also see that sometimes that security and physical access is targeted towards specific populations due to political or sectarian ethnic marginalization. We see bureaucratic friction and political volatility as a challenge where we very often see unforeseeable delays. We see access to decision makers being difficult, and at times also something where you need to ensure a strong ethical basis in order to really carry out credible data collection. Connectivity is a challenge. It's a constraint in terms of having access online, in terms of just having telephone, landline, 2G, let alone 3, 4G access or satellite access. We see mass displacement being a challenge. Now, as Morita rightly mentioned, we have done a lot of work and continue to do a lot of work in Sudan. Here we have seen an extreme volatility in terms of displacement, both internally but also cross-border mobility of populations, which of course means that ensuring proper sample frames, ensuring that we have the right information around what people lives where, and also ensuring that our teams stay intact is difficult. We see socioeconomic strains, which impacts budgets, which impacts cost of carrying out activities, which impacts the capacity of local colleagues to carry out the work that was maybe planned, which then results in an increased staff turnover. We see trust and bias being a significant challenge. Here we especially see participants sometimes with hesitancy in terms of participating in data collection, responding to questionnaires. Current status in the Sahel is exactly like that. We're seeing that right now with a bias towards data being collected, and also a fear of participating in responding to data efforts. And then we see a challenge in terms of ensuring that we have the inclusion and representation that we want. And here especially we see at times underrepresentation of with a gender bias. We see mobile populations that are at times challenging to capture the voices of, marginalized communities, young populations, sometimes due to cultural restrictions, and then of course in general just the fact that the security and access sometimes make certain areas impossible to access. So all these challenges are things that we have to on a daily basis take into consideration when we plan around carrying out data collection. These are challenges that we experience across all the data collection that we do, and that we therefore need to build in mechanisms to mitigate and to counter whenever we carry out our data collection. And that means that we have to really take into consideration how to adapt our research or our data collection, not just at one point of time, but across the research cycle. So it's not enough to put in place certain modalities and then believe that that will carry us throughout the data collection effort. No, we really need to think it in terms of how we adapt our approach from both the planning of the data collection, from the implementation of the data collection, and from when we do the analysis. And so first of all, in the methodology, in the planning around our data collection, we need to ensure that we are adaptable. we're agile in our approach. We need to adjust our patterns of sampling based on displacements we see. We need to ensure that we have contingency plans built into our timelines. And that, of course, needs to be something that we are very upfront about with our clients, with the people who we aim to inform with the data collection that we carry out. We need to ensure that our frameworks of data collection are conflict sensitive, and that we are extremely flexible and upfront with that flexibility with our clients. Making a plan is great, but it is a point of departure in the work that we do. We need to have a focus on how to gain access, which means that we need to ensure that we have pre-identified access points across geographies, not just one, but multiple. And those access points need to be adaptable based on an evolving access and security context, but also seasonal patterns, climate change-induced patterns of movement and access. And then we need to ensure that we have a strong local awareness around what is happening by ensuring that we have counterparts on the ground who can inform our decision-making. Again, we are a global company working in very difficult contexts. And I'm from Denmark, and I've lived many years in Sudan, I've lived many years in Libya, I've lived many years in Tunisia. So I've spent a lot of time in Africa, but I do not know more about Sudan than the Sudanese, or Southern Kordofan than people from Southern Kordofan, or Kadugli than people from Kadugli. And so it's extremely important that we ensure that we have people on the ground who can inform our decision-making and ensure that it is as context sensitive as possible. And we need to be very aware of how we sample. Sampling is not always perfect or straightforward, and so that means that we need to be adaptable in our sampling approach. Sometimes when we would like to have something that is extremely structured and layered, we need to be more purposive in our approach, or potentially use snowball sampling. We need to ensure that we adjust for displacements, and that we are very upfront about the limitations that we face. So sampling is continuously something that we are focusing on in the data collection that we do. We need to ensure that we have solid networks of colleagues, both permanent and short-term colleagues who can support in carrying out the data collection, who are well aware of the purpose and therefore trained on the purpose of the data collection, who knows how to carry out data collection in contexts that are fragile, and by that meaning trained in knowing what to ask, when and how, which means that we need to have a continuous focus on training our colleagues and partners in how to do context and conflict and trauma-sensitive interviewing and questioning. We need to ensure that we have protocols in place for confidentiality and informed consent, and then we need to ensure that all our protocols are enforceable irrespective of what is happening on the ground, all to build the trust of the respondents of our data collection. We need to prepare for the type of tools that we deploy. We cannot continuously rely on there being access, as mentioned, in terms of connectivity. So we need to ensure that we have backups in place, that devices can operate online or with very low connectivity, that we have charging capacities, that we at the end potentially have paper backup opportunities that allows for data to be captured once we have invested in bringing researchers into a context where data is to be collected. And of course, we need to ensure that the local language is something that is feasible to be part of how we collect the data, meaning that we need to be extremely context and locally focused. Finally, the transparency by which we need to operate is important. So we need to have clear risk and mitigation strategies in place, both in terms of what we do, but also in how we document it, so that it is part of the output of the data collection, so that whoever ends up utilizing the data, which is very often ourselves, but also the clients that we serve, that they know the limitations, that they understand the conditions under which the data was collected, and that they are aware of what that means in terms of the broad applicability of the data. So all this is something that we need to take into consideration prior to starting our field work. Now, then going into adaptations that we need to ensure during our data collection, we need to ensure that our enumerators or our colleagues on the ground, our local networks, do not see themselves only as outsiders collecting data. No, for us, they are a lifeline of capacity, because they are the ones who know the context, who are capable of sustaining access and building the trust with local communities that allows us to collect the data that we can then use. Without our local networks, without our colleagues on the ground, we would not be able to collect data that is something that we would be able to rely on due to bias, due to lack of access to all the issues that I just mentioned. So local networks and trust, local trust is key. We need to ensure that our ethics base is in place, that we ensure full confidentiality of what we do, that we have protocols in place for ensuring informed consent, that we, as mentioned earlier, also have colleagues who know how to carry out trauma-sensitive data collection, gender-sensitive data collection. And then we need to have data protocols in place in terms of data integrity. We need to apply extreme flexibility on a day-to-day basis, meaning that we need to be, with the constant communication that we have with our field teams, be able to pivot immediately and based on input that is provided by local networks. Which also means that we need to have full trust in the people that we deploy, because at the end of the day, their safety and security, which is also a point, it depends on us having as much awareness as possible around risks that are present and that are faced in terms of collecting the data. So by ensuring constant communication through multiple channels, also enables us to triangulate information that we see, we are able to contextualize the data that we get in terms of the security context, and based on that, we need to deploy extreme flexibility. Again, completely recognizing that if our local colleagues judge that security is not as it should be, then things will be cancelled, and we might have to look for alternative measures of how to collect that data. So extreme flexibility based on constant communication and the security monitoring, risk monitoring that allows for. And tied up to that is of course that we can only have this awareness of the ground if we also invest back in ensuring that our partnerships are not just a trade-off where we pay and then we leave. No, it's where we invest in capacities with local partners in order to ensure that they continuously have the capacity to carry out, to have access, and to also benefit from the work livelihoods that we are providing them, upskilling in terms of carrying out the work in a manner that fulfills the standards that we need in order for the integrity of the data to be as desired. So we need to have focus on ensuring that local capacities are built throughout the data collection. Once the data has been collected, we need to be aware of the biases that are there. And the reason why I'm highlighting this is because no matter how well a data collection network or local approach you've built, you need to be aware of the limitations of the data that you have collected. And you can only be aware of that data, the quality and credibility and integrity of the data that you've collected if you have proper quality assurance processes in place in order to manage the biases that will inevitably be there, and that requires some standards. So you need to, first of all, be honest and upfront about the biases you see and that you know are there, even unconsciously in the respondents' population. So you need to acknowledge that. You need to ensure that there is adjustments for potential gender imbalances. The same goes for marginalized communities or communities that are mobile. You need to be sensitive and transparent in your reporting. So we put a lot of emphasis on ensuring that the data that we collect, we try to make it as representative as possible, but we also are very upfront about the limitations that are there. Because of course, in very fragile contexts, it's impossible to ensure a full and proper representativity of the data that we collect. We always try to triangulate the data that we collect as to the highest degree possible, which means that we deploy multiple data collection modalities, be that both quantitative as well as qualitative modalities, CAPI, CATI, and also site visits and key informed interviews or focus group discussions to ensure that we have several types of sources for the same data points. Then we need to ensure that we have a proper quality insurance where we do back checks. We have people who are not part of the data collection team check back with the respondents to ensure that the data that was collected was actually also truthfully representing the voices that we have collected. We need to ensure that there are peer reviews done, and that also goes to reviews of the communities that we have that we've collected data from. So to ensure that the findings and the conclusions that we have drawn based on the data that we've seen, that those conclusions are also reflect what people have actually said, so that what we have heard also reflects what they feel that they have said in that data collection process. And that community feedback is something that we see as being extremely valuable in both increasing the representativity of the conclusions that we come forward with, but also to ensure ownership and agency for the people we engage with. So that those parameters are important in the post-data collection process. So what does this mean in terms of everything that I have spoken about now? it means that we need to ensure that we empower local research teams to ensure that ownership is given to people on the ground, people who are aware of the context and who are able to translate that awareness into access and conclusions. We should never parachute researchers in. So that means we need to strengthen local capacities and community to be part of the data collection efforts. We need to be standardized about being flexible, and that of course might sound a bit like a paradox, but it is by that saying that you need to take it as a given that flexibility and adaptability are things that you need to live with, and that it is something that you need to be very upfront about in your work with clients. And then for us, it's key to ensure that what we come out with is actually actionable, so that we translate that data into something that truly reflects the needs of the human beings who we have been given the privilege of listening to. Again, we see it as a responsibility and as a privilege that people are willing to give us their voice, that they entrust us with their voice in a setting where that might not be of primary importance to them. But what we do is that we promise them that we will give them the capacity and the agency to influence decisions through policies that impact their daily lives. And so thereby also give them some hope and dignity for the decisions that potentially will allow them to realize the potential that they have as human beings. And that's why it's important for us that the insights that the data feeds into is actionable, and that it actually pushes towards a higher level of dignity, because we believe that that is a significant measure of impact. So with all that, I will just again stop by coming back to where we started. We believe that human beings do not just strive to exist, and so we also, as Voluntas and as the community that we are, do not just strive to collect data. No, we believe that human beings strive to live lives that are filled with dignity and hope. And our goal is to empower people by giving them a voice towards decisions that impacts their daily lives, and by that provide a bit of dignity, hope, in context where there is otherwise a primary focus on providing for basic needs, things that are of course also important, ensuring livelihoods, ensuring shelter, ensuring wash facilities. But at the end of the day, that's not enough. We need more. We need to also live lives that allows us to realize the potential that we have. And that comes from feeling hopeful for the future and dignified in that someone is willing to listen to you and treat your voice with the respect that is necessary in order to lift that towards decision making. So I think that's where I'll stop on that note. But it highlights some of the things that we believe are important.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nicholas, for this valuable, I think, presentation. And we go across this PPT. I'm sure all attendees, they have a good idea about working in this unrest zones and conflict area in many difficult across the research cycling. And I would like to give my colleague, Dr. Emmanuel, if he's Emmanuel.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone, or good morning, depend on the time zone. Okay, Dr. Niklas, thank you for the presentation. We really appreciate your presentation, and we can see that it's not impossible to collect data in a conflict area, that it is something which is possible. But I have two questions. The first one is we need to be neutral when we are collecting data, okay? But in a conflict area, how can we maintain this neutrality when collecting data, just to build the trust between the respondent and the interviewer? This is one of the first questions. The second one is, I believe that in conflict area, there are many unforeseen things that may happen. How can we budget, as an agency, how can we budget for a project in a conflict area? Yeah, just two questions. Thank you.
Yeah, no, very good questions. No, first of all, I think to your first question, I don't believe that there is any such thing as complete neutrality. I think that is a fallacy. I think it's a false truth of believing that we can have complete neutrality. So we need to be recognizing of the biases that might exist. As I also mentioned, we need to be open about the limitations that might present. But we also need, and that's the other side of it, we also need to accept that there's a beauty in large numbers. That if you have local colleagues, if you have local partners collect data at large, and you have a very large data set, then you actually have some of those biases drown out or offset each other a bit. And so complete neutrality, I don't believe exists. So you need to be open and upfront about that in how you report on the data that you collect. But large data, of course, helps you. And that's where you need to ensure that you triangulate. So you ensure that you have, to the degree possible, both large quantitative data, while you also triangulate that with some qualitative data. So what we like to do is very often that we start on the basis of understanding what the issues are qualitatively. Then we do large data collection, copy-catty, or even paper-based at times. And then we take the findings of that into qualitative data collection, be that focus group discussions, where we have different views reflected around the findings that we have. And that's, of course, also where we sometimes see that maybe our large-scale data is biased in one way or the other. We see very often quite significant desirability biases in terms of education, in terms of level of income. And of course, then we need to acknowledge that. I think we've seen that now a lot of, and I see that I have colleagues here as well from Libya. We've seen that quite significantly. Sudan, the same in terms of education level. So we need to acknowledge that there are biases. In terms of budgeting, that's the good question, because of course that's not so easy. But I think that's also where you need flexibility in terms of accepting that it's not so much the absolute number you are looking for in terms of, let's say we are asked to collect 4,000 CAPI surveys in Senegal, or I'm in Dakar now. Then it's not so much the number, it's about what do you want to achieve. So what is the insight you as a client are looking for? Is it to find out what drives people to migrate? Is it to find out what brings people towards certain sectors in terms of livelihood? If that's the key point, well then let's have a discussion around how you find that best out, rather than have a strict focus on, no, we need to achieve 4,000 respondents. It might be that budget does not allow for that because of things fluctuating. So how do we get closest or as close as possible to finding out the questions you have to inform your decision making, rather than have a focus on the formal requirements of an assignment. And that, of course, requires funding agencies or partners to also be flexible. But that's also something you need to be honest about in the very inception of collaborations, that it's a necessity. We want to answer questions. We don't want to just fulfill formal requirements for the sake of fulfilling them.
Okay, thank you. Over to you, El Mojira.
Okay, Mr. Colin. Colin, the mic with you.
Yeah, we see that a hand is up from you, Colin Irvin. Yeah.
Yes, he is. Colin, the mic with you. I think you mute.
Otherwise, I can see that Nujud has a question written, so I
Okay, can you hear me now? Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, great. Okay, so thank you very much for that review. You covered all the issues that we have to deal with in conflict zones very well, and thank you for that. In working recently with the UN, we've been using artificial intelligence, Remesh AI, various different platforms in Libya, Yemen, and around the world, and then working with local partners who are using the traditional methods that you're using. And a lot of this has proven to be very successful and provided us with quick insights in a very economic way. And we've been able to compare the AI stuff with very high quality stuff that of the form that you're doing. So I'm just wondering if you can say if you've done a little bit of multi-mode stuff using modern technologies, and which you can do remotely, and if you're mixing that into your research methodology yet.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and you're of course right that that things develop very quickly and has been developing quite quickly over the past just year even. But yes, we also deploy that. I think there are two sides to this. So one is I'm very happy to answer what we're concretely doing. Another side is the process of doing it. So yes, we are also deploying IP redirect data collection methodologies where you can randomize even at basic low capacity, so 2G even app levels where you intersect mobile phones and ask questions. Also, digital imagery of power usage can be of use and something that could be deployed to augment more traditional measures. The social media, of course, is also a way of looking at how is social media being used, what comments are being used. So first of all, traffic, but also comments. So do large language modeling on an output from social media comments. We also do. So all that for us is extremely valuable in augmenting more traditional measures of data collection. What it does not do, and that ties me a little bit back to what I see processual benefit of actually meeting people, is that it does not inflict people with a sense of hope and dignity that someone is actually listening to you, that someone is in a very volatile context. And it again goes back to the sensation of hope and dignity of the populations that we aim to support, that someone is actually coming to you asking you about, how do you feel about this? What do you need? That is not just an output product, it's also a process product that for us, because we believe very much in impact being the notion of meaning felt in life and meaning being derived from you feeling hopeful and dignified, that is as much an outcome as the data in itself. Now, the data will inform decision making, but just the mere fact that you are actively engaging people on the ground is something that we can see. And now we've done large-scale measures on notions of meaning felt. So we believe that meaning, again, as I mentioned, is a better measure of well-being than more objective, verifiable measures, be those GDP-based, Human Development Index-based, which are school enrollment rates, child mortality rates. A lot of things that are important, no doubt, but we believe that they overlook the subjective notions of well-being. And that's something that we have worked a lot on trying to put metrics on, and have now succeeded at doing that large scale, because we believe that is where impact is really created, where other types of what might normally be termed impact is in reality output, outcome at best, but it's in reality not impact, because it has a focus on pure livelihoods or basic needs. And we believe that having a pure focus on basic needs is limiting in how we see the human beings we aim to touch. So for us, it's extremely important that we have that in mind when we carry this out as well. So yes, we see it. Modern technology, we use it, and we also use it in terms of our on-the-ground data collection, in terms of allowing for large-scale qualitative data to be collected and analyzed in a manner that we've never done before because of LLM being applied. But we see it as something that is not necessarily providing the same process benefit in terms of providing hope and dignity.
Something that I can add to that, in Libya, we were able to get up to 1,000 people into a digital dialogue, and then we broadcast it on Facebook, and then that was picked up by the television channels, and we got a live discourse, and we got a participation of about 1.7 million in Libya, which is a very large proportion of the population. So in real time, using digital dialogues, we were able to reach out and have a discussion with a good part of the nation in real time. So when it comes to sort of feedback and impact, some of these new tools can be extremely powerful. Sadly, the UN only did this once, and then they didn't do it again. But there's some great capacity in terms of scalability with some of these tools if they're tied up with real-time dialogues, Facebook, television, etc., etc.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And now having lived in Libya for 3 years, I also know that project quite well. And you're right. Of course, we should also not underestimate the bias in terms of who participates in these type of things, and what part of the population might not participate in this part of these type of activities, and the alignment between societal decision making and participation. And I think that's, again, just being aware and recognize and acknowledge the bias that is in these type of more modern ways of participating.
Absolutely, you have to check the bias. So we were checking stuff backwards and forwards all the time, and we knew what our biases were.
Exactly. Yeah. No, and that's as I also said, that's part of it. But of course, you're absolutely right. Deploying these type of methodologies brings a lot of added perspectives that you would otherwise not have. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you both. I think the digital dialogue also one of the way that it will be useful in conflict area. This is bring up my colleague Paul from Random Dynamic. I think he have planned to do the same in Sudan. And before I go to the written questions, I'm seeing Muhammad Osman.
Yes, Doctor. My question is how to build trust in conflict area. This is how we can do this.
How to build trust?
In conflict area.
You know, that's a good question. And for us, it's very much about ensuring that we have the people who collect the data, that they're actually aware of the local context and that they are not foreigners coming in. So it's both ensuring that you have people who are aware of local traditions, context, power dynamics, but also that you, when you do data collection, and especially when you do recurring data collection, that you bring back the conclusions that you've done based on the data, so that the people in those communities can actually see the output of what they have said, and that they can see themselves in the conclusions that you draw. Because only when they can see themselves, ownership is there, and they also believe that you're actually not distorting the voices that they have given you. So for us, it's very much about ensuring that you have people on the ground who knows the local context, and that you also ensure that they see themselves in the conclusions that you draw.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
And Yud Al-Rufai from Sudan have a question. I think it's how to balance data collection with team and participant safety.
Yeah, and that's why you need to be flexible and always be ready to redirect, to deploy another methodology if it's not possible to carry out the data collection that you had planned for. And so, of course, the primary importance is to ensure that participants and your data collectors are safe. And you need an extreme level of localization or localized approach to this, so that when decisions are taken as to whether or not this is the right time to do this type of data collection, then that needs to be a decision that's taken on the ground, based on discussions, of course, but at the end of the day, it's not me sitting somewhere taking that decision. That is based on input from the people who are on the ground, who knows the context much better than we do. So that needs to be a decision that is that's taken based on a local context awareness. Yeah.
Okay, Janet.
Yeah, thank you for good afternoon, everyone from Ghana. So I just wanted to add my voice or contribute to the area how we can build trust in a new environment. Based on the experience we had having to work in area like Angola, Tanzania, moving to very deep rurals for the first time. Normally what we do is to build what we call community entrance into those new areas. First of all, you have to see either the chief or the key member of those localities, present your idea to them, and they will later have to, sometime they will have to do community information, letting them know when you see such people in your community, welcome them, they are here with peace. You know, having to work with social research studies whereby you have to move to deep rurals to talk to mothers or children, you always have to create that trust by seeing the community leaders. And then from there, that works. And to also add to areas where we have security threats, one of the experience in Niger, what we have to do is that to seek for the government approval of having to notice that we are in a community or in a country for a study. So we have a letter that warrants that we are permitted in moving from one house to the other to collect data. So somehow we go to homes and they will demand to have those approval. We read the letters to them, we show them evidence. So it gives them the trust that they are with good hands to be able to participate. And sometimes too, they happen to give us security escort, especially in a very deep rural where the zone is very not stable. So as a research agency or data collection agency, you need to have these ideas, and then in the planning stage, and how you have all these things tabled out before you start the visiting in homes. With that, you can build trust. So there's a letter I wanted to contribute. Thank you.
Thank you, Janet.
You're welcome.
Okay, we have here question. Which kind of data do you regularly collect? Quantitative, survey, or qualitative? And
So
what
we do qualitative, and then we do qualitative and then quantitative in terms of social and then market research as well. And sometimes we do retail audits, which is essential in a whole retail
the
census
question
as
is
well.
for Niklas. It's not for your channel.
No problem.
Okay,
I think no problem, Janet. No problem.
No,
Okay, class.
yeah, no, thank you. Well, we collect all of what is mentioned. So we do a lot of large-scale quantitative data collection. So both CAPI, we also do online data collection from there's mobile phone based, but also computer based. Qualitative, we've actually increasingly now, also because of new technologies, we've been collecting more qualitative data than we would probably previously have done, because it's easier now to collate and use large numbers of transcripts in a way that is efficient. So that is something we see happening more and more, where we can then use large language modeling to both do topic and sentiment analysis based on that.
I think from Lagos, Nigeria, we have Akinlabi asking, please can the presentation by Mr. Nicholas be shared for personal study and referencing?
No, of course. I'll be very happy to share. Very happy to share. Yes. You're welcome to all reach out to me. I'll put my email in the chat, so you can just write me.
Thank you. Thank you. There is May Masri. May, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much. I was wondering if pilot studies are recommended in conflict areas. Will they be feasible? I mean, in terms of sample size and the information that will be gathered from pilot study before undergoing a large-scale study. Thank you.
Yeah, we do that quite often, where we also to test new methodologies and also to test research questions. So we carry out smaller sample size pilot studies where we then subsequently can course correct both the content that we collect, but also the methodology by which we collect. So we see that as being valuable and important.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now I'm not seeing any hands up. I think we can now, we move more than 1 hour now. Emmanuel, we can work, yes?
Yes, for me, I'm fine. Dota can just answer, can just type those questions that was done in the group. Please, if there is no time to answer the questions in Q&A.
We have Ahmed. We have Ahmed.
We have 8 up to now.
Amal Badri, she have one question, and Qasim Ahmad also.
Okay.
Amal asked if it is recorded. Would love to follow as a missed edu. Of course, WAPOR SSA record all the webinar. If you follow, you will find the webinar session for Mr. Nicholas. And Qasim Ahmad. Yes, please, Qasim, go ahead and ask your question. Qasim, the floor is yours. Akin Labi also. Akin Labi.
Hello.
Yes.
Doctor. Yes, I have three questions, but I will ask one question because of your time.
Okay.
My question in sampling techniques. What are the sampling techniques that can be work well in the population that access limited or dangerous?
Well, obviously, if it's extremely volatile and security is an issue, then random sampling becomes difficult. So then you would need to, in some way, do snowballing or a more directional sampling approach, which would be that the data collection teams, that they are aware of where it's safe to go, and try to, based on predetermined patterns, collect data, maybe in safe areas, but it cannot be randomized to the same degree. And then you need to be aware of that and recognizing that in your reporting of the data. So you need to, of course, restrict the randomization.
So you said it's not going to be a randomized?
I'm saying that randomizing it is much more difficult because, of course, you don't have access to the full population that you're carrying out data collection with. So you need to ensure that it's either done in a snowballing fashion, where you go from one to another, knowing that the respondents are okay with being part of it, and you keep people safe, or you have the data collection teams who are context aware, determine what areas are safe, which means that you might not have access to the full geographical sampling unit, and that you then only do a subsection of that is deemed safe, which you need to then recognize in your sampling report, and of course also in the data that you find.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Last question for Alalwa.
All right, thank you very much. Thanks so much, everyone. Good afternoon and evening from wherever you are listening in. Mine is both questions and comments. I will be looking at this from two angles: the timeline and the neutrality on the part of the researchers. Let me start with neutrality. Back end from the researchers, we believe that neutrality is possible, and I also agree with Mr. Nicholas when he mentioned earlier on that there cannot be absolute neutrality or complete neutrality, which I agree, because we are human. But narrowing it down to the research assistants that will be involved in the data collection, most especially due to the areas we are covering, conflict areas. We want to ensure that we use the locals that understand the terrain, so that if there is going to be anything, it will be easier to understand. The communication will be easier and much faster and effective. But experience have also shown us that to some extent, these people, because they are locals, they are a bit closer to the people, the respondents we are trying to get informations from. Their level of neutrality is majorly in check, despite the training and so on like that. And it should not be very easy for us to move in people from far locations that we can say, okay, their neutrality cannot be doubted. So that is one. We are trying our best to ensure that we give them proper training and ensure that any study that is trauma related is properly managed with this team. But how can we further improve on it? That's my first question. And secondly, on timeline, we have also realized over time that different clients that we work for, most especially when it's a study that has to do with midline, it's continuing. They just want to quickly get this information and, continue with their program. They don't want to give us that ample time to manage the situation, despite the fact that we understand this is a conflict-driven areas that we are covering. And anytime we run into a problem due to the terrain, to realize that it is always difficult. Yes, not that we want us to just put our head because we are talking about life and death here, but at times there could be some shaking on the study because of the timeline. Take for example, we are talking about midline study, and which means something must happen. They also have the timeline from their back end to work with and so on like that. How do we manage this and ensure that we are not missing out on the study objective and nobody is out at the end of everything? Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you. Nicholas?
I think maybe to boil it down, as I understood the question was around how do we ensure neutrality of the data, and you're right in the sense that of course ideally it would be completely or as neutral as possible. People collecting the data, ensuring that there is no local bias. But for me, that ends up being a weight between keeping people safe and ensuring that it's neutral observers. And what we very often see is that, first of all, in very volatile and conflict-prone settings, moving people across large distances is something that we would like to avoid. So we cannot have people move from one locality even or governorate to another. And also the trust by which people would respond to an outsider is also lower, so that the questions might not be answered as truthfully as if it is someone that they know from their local community. So we actually try to have local enumerators or data collectors operate locally, both to avoid them traveling far distances, but also to ensure that they are aware of how to best engage local communities. And timeline, as you say, is of course super difficult. You need to be continuously following up and also be open about the challenges that you face early on with the partners, so that when timelines slip, then you need to quite quickly activate the alternative data modalities that you have in place in an open discussion with your client. So if field access is not possible, then you move to maybe CATI, or you move to some of the more novel data collection methodologies that Colin talked about online or through social media. You need to ensure that you have the full palette available, and then depending on how volatile it is, you move on that scale.
Thank you. Dr. Emmanuel, you can close, if you wish, this wonderful webinar.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Niklas. Thank you, El Majira, for organizing this webinar. And thank you also for everyone that take his time to attend our webinar. So in the chat webinar, there is also a way to enroll yourself. If you want to be a member of WAPOR SSA, feel free to go to the website which is there and enroll yourself. Thank you very much for the speech and for the very good insight that Dr. Niklas shared with us. This is really very key notes because we have a lot of countries that we need to be attentive to do a very good research. We have to have skills to collect a very good data and satisfy our client with reliable data. Thank you very much.
Nicolas?
Thank you. No,
Thank you.
I have to say thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity, and I hope, of course, to continue engaging with you all. Please do reach out. I've put my email in the chat, so if there's anything, let me know.
Thank you for everybody, and goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.